Welcome to Wonderlust. So I'm going to introduce you guys to my my homeland out here in eastern Montana. And though my career really takes me all over the US, at my core, I really consider myself a product. Watching Kava dig up some dirt. I really consider myself a product of my childhood in eastern Montana and wandering around with my mother, roaming these kinds of hills. And Montana really has this just deep and almost profound sense of wildness. It's a place where there are very few people, lots of wide open spaces, and it's very easy to develop a sense of connection with the natural world. So I don't know how many of you have, grown up around sagebrush, but the smell of it is just one of my favorite things in the world. And that smell is really part of what led sagebrush to gain a great deal of importance in Cheyenne society. They will wrap together chunks of these leaves and then let them dry out for several weeks. And if you kind of light these bundles on fire, they will develop a smoke, and it's what the Cheyenne call smudging. And it's often used as a kind of cleansing ceremonies and just this kind of incredible scent that comes over it. And so I really love the plant for that reason. So while we're walking out here, you can kind of see how in the lower ground we have all this sagebrush and grass, and it's very dry, but as we start to get closer to some of the more hilly terrain, it very suddenly changes features, and you start to get surrounded by this Ponderosa forest. So eastern Montana is really a place where it's a lot different than western Montana, where you have these giant mountainscapes and kind of snow-capped peaks. And there, the beauty is really obvious, right? It's a thing that's really hard to miss and doesn't require a lot in the way of digesting and listening to appreciate. And I found that eastern Montana, where I've grown up, is pretty different, right? It's a lot drier. It's a lot more kind of small scale, right? You just see all of these tiny bits of color and texture and all these things that just kind of collectively develop into this place that is just absolutely beautiful. The more you walk in it and the more you listen to it. And Kava, my mother's dog, requires no training, requires no teaching. She just falls right into the beauty, and she just loves wandering around, enjoying the smells, enjoying just the overall presence of the landscape. I've often envied the minds of a dog. So these are some of the older Ponderosas in Colstrip. The Ponderosas out here don't get nearly as big as those in the Rockies or west of the Rockies. And I assume that a lot of that partly is land use and the amount of kind of clearing and habitat conversion that's gone on. But there's also just a lot less in the way of moisture out here. It's a lot drier environment. It's not quite desert, but it's definitely not your kind of classic forest. It's this really interesting combination where as soon as you get any kind of topography, you suddenly get into the trees. And once it flattens out, they're just immediately gone. So as you can kind of see around me, it's a super sunny day, and this is mid-October, and it's currently 75 degrees, which for Montana is very, very warm for this time of year. And to give you an idea of how sort of dramatically, the weather can change out here, 1 week ago, this entire landscape was just completely encased in snow and ice. We had a decent amount of snowfall, and Western Montana actually had the earliest date to reach 0 degrees Fahrenheit in recorded history of temperature monitoring, and that was just a week ago. And so the difference in temperature is really quite amazing. We've had cases like around Glacier National Park, and especially in Western Montana, where we've had snowfall just pretty much any month of the year. July, August, blizzards will just randomly appear, and then several days later it'll be in the high 80s to 90s. It's just really the most mind-boggling thing to experience, and one of Montana's many kind of interesting but sort of fascinating quirks. So I really love these rocks out here. You just have this beautiful, beautiful sandstone, sort of ancient riverbeds that have since dried up and solidified, and you'll often see little chunks of fossils. You'll see little bits of leaves and stuff like that, just sort of the ancient remains of these riverbeds. And it's part of what I think makes Eastern Montana just a really fantastically beautiful place, is just this gorgeous yellow sandstone that has all of these textures and colors, and kind of the growth of lichens and other things on the outside surface really allows your eye to kind of explore the surface and just kind of discover this kind of subtle beauty that I love so much about Eastern Montana. So Kava seems to have found a snake out here. She's often kind of running around looking for various dead stuff, and I don't think that she killed it. I don't think it's quite that recently dead, but kind of a neat find. Some really just gorgeous textures there. You can see even like chunks of the skin shedding off. Just one of the things that you find out in the Eastern Montana wilds. So you'll often see cattle wandering between the state lands out here and some of the private land adjacent. And this is why. Give you some scale. Step over the fence there. It is well and truly on the ground. I think the fence hasn't been maintained in quite some time, and in fact is outright disappeared at this spot. There is no, oh wait, no, there it is. Can't see on the camera probably, but it's kind of lying on the ground next to the fence post. So again, time plays its own role in structuring the kind of beauty of out here. It's a very rustic place. So what I mentioned, the fossils that you can find out here, this is a pile of that sandstone, and in almost every time I see these, you'll have these just gorgeous kind of deep darkened lines. I can see there, I can see in here just a small little blade of grass that's been sitting there for something like 52 million years, and exposed here. And some random YouTuber and wildlife biologist, countless, endless millennia later, can film it and show it to you all. So this is the site of today's walk coming to a close. You can see my car there. We call the Turtle Church in town. And I'm going to be heading back home, getting some food and drink, but super rejuvenated from a great day outdoors. Man, this is what I thrive on, right? This is, you know, this is what gives me strength in life. Love it out here a great deal. And just glad to share it with you all. It's a pretty fun experience.